Good evening everyone, hope you're all well. I am just adjusting my camera a little bit, so yeah, hopefully you can see me a bit better. Welcome to week 15. So far we have covered basically all of Guitar Quest 1, which is pretty awesome. So today's lesson, as we mentioned last week, we're just going to go back over a couple of the exercises that we covered last week, so the new ones, so exercises 29 and 30, and then I was going to leave it sort of open to you guys as to what we cover after that. So I have a few ideas of exercises, or a couple from throughout the book that cover a few different ideas and that kind of thing. So if you have any requests or any questions, anything you found difficult, then obviously please do just drop the message in the chat, and I will do my best to answer them. So so before we get started then, if you're on your computer or your tablet, please turn off emails and social medias, all those notifications and things like that. And any children in the room, if there are any, I'd encourage parents just to be in the room as well, just to help out and hopefully make sense of what's being discussed. So let's talk about what we need to do. So first of all, we're just going to have to think about posture. I know I've talked about this a couple of times, particularly in the early weeks. So just to recap, if you're going for your classical posture, you grab a footstool or whatever you've got, so something like this, put it onto your left foot, hold it, I'll move back a little bit more so you can see me a bit better. So I've got, you can't see my footstool now, but anyway, the left foot's raised up, then the guitar can sit and rest on your left leg, and then you should find the head of the guitar kind of sort of somewhere around this kind of height. You'll see people with different angles and that, but something like that is your kind of classical posture. So that's, if you love classical music, that's the sort of posture you definitely want to be getting into. If you are more of a contemporary guitarist, I mean, you may not know at the moment yet, but you might find it more comfortable to put the footstool under the right foot, probably a little bit lower on the height setting than when you do the classical posture, I would suggest. But yeah, so you raise your right foot up a little bit. You don't even have to do that, but if you find when you're sitting here that you're up on tiptoes on that right foot, then the footstool, or just some old books or whatever you've got to hand, will just help with that. Just raises the leg up a little bit, obviously, so the guitar's not sliding away from you, and then you just rest the guitar over the right leg, something kind of like that. So that's our posture. So let's move back into normal position. Okay, we're going to check our tuning. As sort of previously mentioned, we have, or I have rather, a video about how to tune a guitar, so hopefully you're getting used to doing that by now. But here are the strings, so just try and make sure you're in tune with these. So we'll start with the 6th string, so here we go. So this is our bottom E string. And then A, which is our 5th string. D, the 4th string, and then G, the 3rd, and then we've got B, which is our 2nd string, and then our B string. Okay, so hopefully you're all in tune with that, so we're ready to go. So as I mentioned last week, a good one to do this week for a warm-up is going to be the Gun Anthem. So just move myself into shot a little more. So here we go, after 4, as mentioned in a couple of weeks ago, you know, there is that section in the middle where there's a key change and they play the notes a bit higher up the fretboard. We're not going to cover that, so we're just playing literally as written on that extra bit of paper that I emailed around a couple of weeks ago. So there's nothing much really there that's new or anything, so just watch out for the first time and the second time bars. So obviously the first time we play lines 1, 2, 3, 4, and then as we go back and repeat, we end up playing lines 1, 2, 3, and 5. So here we go, after 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to beginning. 3, 4. Last line. 3, 4. Okay, good. So that's our warm up. So the new exercises we covered last week then are, first of all, number 29. So the new thing that we had in exercise 29 was the minim rest, which is that little rectangular bar that rests on the centre line of the stave. So it's just, as it suggests, a 2-beat rest. So for example, in our first bar, we're going to be going 1 and 2 and rest. So that kind of timing. Obviously, we went through this in a little bit more detail last week, so if you're unsure, just refer back to that video. So we've got our first and second time bars again. So just to talk you through it, as we start, we're going to play bars 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we go back to the beginning for the repeat, and we do bars 1 and 2. We've gone to the second time bars, which means we go on to 5 and 6, and then from there through to the end. There are some dynamics in there. You're very welcome to add them in. However, as previously discussed as well, it's not really that crucial at the moment. We just want to be getting the notes and the timing good initially. So let's give it a go then. So after 4, here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to the beginning. Second line. Okay, good stuff. So if you manage to play along with that, give yourselves a pat on the back, as always. Always good to celebrate those moments where things have gone well, I think. So that's number 29. There's all the backing tracks are available on my YouTube page as well, so I'd suggest playing along with those. It makes them sound a little bit more interesting usually when you play along with them, rather than just like we've just done there. It can sound a little bit empty on your own. However, it's also good to do it on your own because you get to practice everything as it should be, no distractions and so on. So a combination is usually always best. So okay, so then we had our first few scales. We talked about these last week. So these are only sort of small sections of the scales, but worth just having a quick go at. And these make for good warm-ups as well. Just up and down the scales a couple of times just to get the fingers limbered up and all that. So, okay, so we're going to start off with the C major scale. That's the first one written there. So we start on the C, work our way up all the notes that we know up to G, and then we come back again. So here we go, after 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Good, okay, and then on to G major. So this time we're starting on G, and we're working our way up to D. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then finally our A natural minor scale. So I can't remember if I mentioned last week or not, but we get different scale types. We've got a major scale and a minor scale. There are more besides that, but these are the sort of the main ones, if you like. Like with chords, you know, the major scale has a slightly happier kind of sound. The minor scale perhaps has a slightly more melancholic tone to it. And there are different types of minor scale as well, but we're just looking at one particular one, the A natural minor. So we're going to start on the A, and we work our way up to E. Okay, so here we go after 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Okay, jolly good. So those are our first few scales. As I said, they're good warm-ups, so worth just sort of having to play about with those. And for now, we are going to move on to exercise 30. Again, we covered this last week. So this is really just, you know, there's nothing new in here that we haven't covered before. So the things to watch out for really are that we repeat each line. So we play the first line twice, play the second line twice, and play the third line twice. And that's where we've got all our repeat markings in the music. So keep an eye out for those. Other than that, I think hopefully it should be reasonably straightforward. If you try playing along with the track, I think I set the tempo a little bit faster on this one than on the others. So if all is going well and you're happy with your playing and you feel it progressing nicely, then hopefully this is a nice little challenge just to see if you can pick the tempo up a little bit. When we go on to Guitar Quest 2, we will be picking the tempo up a little bit, not a lot, but just enough to kind of, you know, edge it forward a bit. So without further ado, we'll go on to number 30 then. So remember, we're in 3/4 timing. You can add the dynamics in if you want. But yeah, here we go. So after 3. So 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 3, and we'll finish there. So, congratulations if you followed all of that through. We've finished Guitar Quest 1, which is very cool. As I mentioned last week, we've got those questions at the end. That's always interesting for you guys as much as anything. You know, like what have you enjoyed, what have you found easy, what have you found difficult, that kind of thing. You know, it helps you sort of almost formulate what musical direction you may want to go in as well. So, okay, so the next section of today's session is going to be more of a question and answer thing. So if there are any questions, do feel free to pop them in the chat and I will do my best to answer them, as I mentioned. There's been nothing so far, so what I thought about was just going back over a couple of old exercises that just cover a few of the kind of the concepts that we've talked about throughout the book. So I'd say these are perhaps some of the more challenging ones, but you know, what one person finds difficult, what another person finds difficult can be quite different. So you just got to go with it and hope, well, not hope for the best, just play as best as you can. So okay, so one of the concepts that we've covered a bit has been a couple of chords. So with that in mind, we're going to go back to number 23 in the book, exercise 23, which is on page 18. And this is Morning Dew accompaniment. So we're just going to work our way through the chords. So remember our E major is this one. So we're on strings 3, 4 and 5 with these fingers, and then a few open strings. And then A minor, we just take these fingers and move them one string to the floor, almost like a block. And that's that's basically what we're doing in this exercise. So remember, we play the first line twice and bars 5 to 8 twice on the second line, and then just that final bar. So let's give it a go. So after 4, here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8, 2, 3, 4, A minor, 2, 3, 4, and E, 2, 3, 4, A minor. I'm going to repeat that. So E again, 3, 4, A minor, 2, 3, 4, back to E, 3, 4, A minor. We go on to the second line, so 2 strums per bar. A minor, 2, 3, 4, and E, 2, 3, 4, A minor, 2, 3, 4, and repeat that bit. 2, 3, 4, A minor, 2, 3, 4, E, 2, 3, 4, A minor, 2, 3, for the final bar, E, 2, 3, 4. So, as I think I mentioned before, when you finish a tune, quite often you'll let that chord hang. So you can do that if you want, or you can cut the sound off, whatever you feel really suits what the tune. So, okay, so that was a bit of chord practice. So what we're going to do now is go back to exercise 21, which is glider. So this one, there's a lot of quavers in it, which makes it seem fast, but our tempo, like the overall speed we're playing at, is not particularly fast. So hopefully it's not too bad. But what we want to use is kind of different fingers on the right hand, and trying to just keep, for example, in this first bar, we keep that first finger down on the C. And whilst holding that C down, we can also play the E. So it's just a couple of things to think about like that, if possible. Other than that, it's not saying it's straightforward. I was about to, but I think that's maybe not fair. So it's. I would say this is definitely one of the more challenging ones in Guitar Quest 1. So it's good just to recap it now. I think there's no repeats, there's no dynamics. So we're just going to literally play from start to finish, take it nice and slow, and just focusing on trying to get the right notes in the right place at the right time, which is always a good place to end up. So, okay, so here we go, after 4. So you might want to put that first finger down on the C initially, just to kind of help get the first bit. Okay, so here we go. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, cool. So again, if it went well, give yourself a pat on the back. These are older exercises, obviously. However, as I mentioned, I feel this is one of the more challenging ones from within the book. So yeah, it's good. Remember as well, with our right hand, we want to be trying to alternate these index and middle fingers as frequently as possible. There's a little bit in there where technically we might, when you've played a little bit longer, you might change the fingering up a little bit, but we're not going to worry about that for now. So, okay, so that is number 21 covered. So what I thought we would also do is go on to exercise 19. So mountain pass, this is on page 16. So we have this exercise here where we're really just going up and down the notes, kind of like the G major scale, or the section of the G major scale that we played a few minutes ago. And yeah, like maybe watch out for a bit of the timings. We've got some quavers in there. We're going to repeat the first two lines. We play line 1, line 2, then back to beginning, play them again, and then finish off with line 3. So let's give it a go. I'm going to count this in. So there's only 2 beats in the bar, so it'll be a 1, 2, and then off. Okay, so good luck everybody, and here we go. Okay, so 1, 2. That's the beginning. Last line. 2, 2. Okay, cool. Pat on the back if it went well, obviously. So that's all good. So I have one more that I thought might be worth going over, and that is exercise 28. Obviously, this is one of the newer ones that we've covered over the last few weeks. So if you were to turn to page 21, I've got a very curious cat here. So like with Top Gun, we played earlier, and I think it's exercise 29, we've got the first and the second time bars to just to cover. So in this particular one, we're going to play initially bars 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we go back to the beginning, we play bars 1, 2, and then jump over to 5 and 6, and then we carry on through to the end of the piece. Other than that, really this one's just giving us a little bit of practice on the notes on the first string. So the exercises we went over a minute ago didn't have those notes, the F at the first fret and G at the third fret. So this one's just giving us a little bit of practice on that. So let's give it a go. If you have any questions, obviously do fire away, but yeah, otherwise after 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Beginning. Bar 5. Second line. Rest and finish up there. So, okay, that's good. So that's kind of pretty much covered the exercises I thought of going over. Obviously, if you have any you'd like to cover, please do put them in the chat. We've got a couple of minutes left anyway, or any concepts that we talked about, perhaps some timing issues that you're not sure of, then please do ask. otherwise, what we're going to do is just have a quick think about what we're going to move on to with Guitar Quest 2. So, I do have a copy of Guitar Quest 2 here, so that's our book that I'll be emailing round pretty soon. So I'll try and get that out probably at the start of next week. So for the lesson next week, if you can have that printed off, that'd be great. I'll get some backing tracks put up on my YouTube page as well. So in this book, we're going to be looking at the notes on the lower strings. So these kind of notes here, because we've obviously already covered these ones. So that's the sort of thing. Obviously, we're going to build on everything we've covered in book 1 as well. So things like timing. Some of the notes are going to be in book 2 as well, but probably they all will be somewhere or other. Just there'll be more of a focus on the lower notes. So to kind of prepare yourself a little bit for it, aside from obviously printing off the book, I would suggest as a warm-up we go with the 8-note recap on page 20 of Guitar Quest 1. So that just makes sure you're on top of the notes we've learned so far, so that when we introduce some new ones and then incorporate some of these, hopefully you're sort of really on top of all of those. Other than that, I would suggest any exercises you found difficult in Guitar Quest 1, keep going over them. Go back and watch the previous lessons that are on YouTube, and either just go and play along with the backing tracks, or if you find like you're finding an aspect of it quite difficult, watch the lesson itself, where I talk you through it a little bit more. So that's always worth doing. So yeah, because we're building on what we've covered in Guitar Quest 1, you want to be as comfortable as possible. I appreciate that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to play everything perfectly, but if there's anything you found really, really challenging, then you may want to get on top of that, or if you can, put a bit more practice in to get on top of it before we move on to Guitar Quest 2. However, I don't want it to sound like it's daunting. It's not. It's pretty much the same kind of challenge. It's just obviously you're a bit better now than when you first started, or at least I hope you are. So, so yeah, that wraps that up really. So thank you for watching. This video, as always, will get uploaded to my YouTube channel, so you can have a watch and go back over some of these old exercises. If you know anybody that you think might benefit from these lessons, just wants to get into music or playing guitar or whatever, lessons are there and they can sign up and get the book and stuff as well. So yeah, that pretty much covers it. We only actually have one more lesson next week, and then it's half term around these parts. So a lesson next week, we'll get stuck into a little bit of Guitar Quest 2, have a bit of a break, and then we'll come back and really get motoring on Guitar Quest 2 after that. So if you enjoyed the lesson, please give it a thumbs up, give it a like, maybe even share it around, or all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I will see you next week. So before next week, I will, as I mentioned, send the book round and also share the live stream lesson link. So good luck with all the practice this week, and I'll look forward to seeing you next Thursday. Okay, take care then guys. Bye bye.